What you should know.
About the cell. All living things on Earth are made of cells, and all cells share four parts. First, all cells are surrounded by a plasma membrane made of a phospholipid bilayer. Inside the cell is a fluid called cytosol that contains water, nutrients, and other compounds necessary for cell function. All cells on Earth contain DNA as their genetic material, and all cells on Earth contain machines called ribosomes that are used to build proteins. The three domains of life, bacteria, archaea, and eukarya, all share these four parts, but they also have a lot of differences between them. Eukarya contain organelles, internal membrane bound compartments with distinct functions. Bacteria and archaea are prokaryotes, meaning that they contain no internal membrane bound compartments. They differ from each other in the chemistry of their different parts. For example, while the archaeal cell membrane is made of phospholipids, they look rather different than the phospholipids found in bacteria and eukarya. Eukarya contains plants, animals, fungi, and many other organisms, often lumped together in a fourth group called protists. Plants and animals are, by their definition, multicellular, but fungi and protists can have one or many cells. Modern classifications based on genetics group eukaryotes at the molecular level into many different kingdoms, but how to group them depends a bit on who you talk to. All eukaryotes contain a nucleus, a double membered organelle that surrounds the DNA and keeps it separate from the rest of the cell. The DNA within the nucleus is in a loosely condensed form called chromatin. In some regions, it condenses even more into structures called nucleoli, the singular being nucleolus. The DNA in the nucleolus is especially responsible for coding the RNA that makes ribosomes. Connected to the membrane of the nucleus is the endoplasmic reticulum, or ER, a series of folded up membranes. There are two different types of ER named for how they looked when they were first observed under a microscope. The rough ER is covered with little bumps, which are the ribosomes that attach there to synthesize proteins that either need to be embedded in a membrane or packaged up into small membrane packages called vesicles. Within the smooth ER is the machinery for synthesizing and processing lipids. The Golgi apparatus is a set of membrane sacs that is not continuous with the ER. However, the membrane of vesicles from the ER can merge with the membrane of the Golgi, where the materials within are sorted and potentially modified for other uses. The Golgi can then repackage these vesicles. Sometimes the vesicles are sent to the outer cell membrane, where they can merge and the contents can be dumped out of the cell. Many other membrane bound organelles in the cell are made of parts of ER or Golgi. Peroxisomes exist in all eukaryotes and are derived from the ER. They perform a wide variety of metabolic reactions, including breaking down toxic hydrogen peroxide that is sometimes produced from other reactions in the cell. Lysozymes Lysosomes, derive from the Golgi. They are found in animal cells and contain enzymes for digesting nutrients, cell debris, and even bacteria. Vacuoles are found in plants and fungi and sometimes other cell types. They contain mostly water, and in plants form a large central water reservoir that can sometimes become so full all other organelles are squished to the sides of the cells. Plants don't have lysosomes because their central vacuoles perform many of the same functions. All multicellular and almost all unicellular eukaryotes contain mitochondria. These organelles are thought to once have been independent bacterial cells that were just so good at processing nutrients for energy that when an ancient eukaryote engulfed it, it was more advantageous not to digest it. Mitochondria contain their own DNA and ribosomes and can divide within the cell on their own. Their main function is to convert the chemical bond energy of other molecules into the bonds of ATP. The number of mitochondria can vary widely in different cells dependent on their energy needs. For example, human muscle cells contain hundreds of mitochondria in each cell, but red blood cells contain none. Plants are the only type of eukaryote that contain chloroplasts, an organelle with machinery to convert the energy from sunlight into chemical bond energy. Like mitochondria, chloroplasts contain their own DNA and ribosomes, can divide on their own, and are thought to have once been independent bacteria that were kept as endosymbiotes by some cells billions of years ago. Several other macromolecules in the cell help provide cellular structure, stability, and even movement. Plants, fungi, and most types of bacteria and archaea all contain a cell wall. The function of the cell wall is to provide extra strength and rigidity to the outside of the cell, but each type of organism uses different chemicals to achieve this function. Plants use cellulose, fungi use chitin, bacteria use peptidoglycan, and archaea use a variety of chemicals. Inside of both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells are different sizes of protein filaments that make up the cytoskeleton. There are three main types of cytoskeletal filaments. Microtubules are large tubular structures made of a protein called tubulin. They branch out from organizing centers called centrosomes, which are themselves made of special kinds of tubulin. The centrosomes also play an important role in cell division when they help organize the microtubules for separating duplicated DNA. Actin filaments are made of two strands of actin monomers twisted together. Actin often assembles in the cell cortex, or outer layer of the cell, in a mesh. When the filaments grow and shrink near the end of the cell, they can also generate cell movement that can allow a cell to crawl along another surface. Intermediate filaments contain different types of proteins depending on their specific function, but all of the different proteins are filamentous proteins that bundle together in short or long rods that are larger in diameter than actin but smaller than microtubules. Intermediate filaments made of lamin make up a structure that supports the nuclear membrane, called the nuclear lamina. Intermediate filaments made of keratin provide a lot of structural support to cells, especially in the cells of your skin. Motor proteins bind to actin or microtubules and use ATP to generate mechanical movement along these cytoskeletal structures. This movement is used for transporting vesicles or organelles, or for attaching to and moving along other filaments of the cell membrane. Cilia and flagella are special structures made of microtubules that can be used for external cell movement. Motor proteins called dynein attach to one microtubule and tug on another to cause the whole structure to wave and bend. This movement can be used to help cells swim, or in the human body, to move other things around, like mucus in the airway or eggs in the fallopian tube. Flagella are distinguishable from cilia by their length, how they move, and that there is only usually one per cell. The only human cell with a flagellum is a sperm cell. Animals also form a network of macromolecules outside the cell called the extracellular matrix. The matrix consists of proteins and carbohydrate molecules that work to connect cells together and can look widely different in different tissue types. Cells can also link more directly to each other via cell junctions. Tight junctions bind two cells like superglue to form impermeable barriers. Adherence junctions and desmosomes connect cells as well, but not as tightly, so that substances can still pass between the cells. Note that each of these connects to a different part of cytoskeleton. Adherence junctions join actin filaments, and desmosomes join keratin of one cell to the next. Gap junctions form pores between the cells to allow for some materials to pass directly from one cell to the next. In plants, the cell walls connect directly to one another, but there are passages similar to gap junctions between the cells called plasmodesmata that allow for nutrients and water to pass between them. Thanks for watching.